What's going on, YouTube? It is Tuesday, March 10th. I'm about to leave the house just on yesterday. Have a job interview today. It's exciting. That's what this video is about. Is more Army retirement and VA type stuff. So I have a job interview downtown today with one of the corporate banks. So we'll see how that goes. It's an accounting-based job. I am 3.5 classes away from a degree in accounting. So we'll see how this works out and if I'm the fit. It's the second interview I've had with this company. It's the company I did my internship with. So I got a guy in there trying to help me find a spot, but we'll see if bankers want Army guys. So officially retired. Today's the 10th. I've been officially retired for 10 days. I would say it hasn't been smooth, but I'd also say it's been normal Army shenanigans to this point. So started out the week prior to retirement. So you're supposed to be able to change your TRICARE over anytime 30 days prior to your retirement date. So I called the 20th of February was my retirement, last day in the Army, hit retirement rolls the first. I called on like the 25th and they said, nope, can't do it. You don't have the right ID card. And so what had happened last October, I went in, my ID card expired. I went in to get a new one. And in the ID card system, it was not showing I was going to retire soon. So I got a standard 3-year retirement ID or 3-year ID card that showed me in service till 2028. So as far as TRICARE was concerned, I was not retiring and they could not switch me over to retired TRICARE. So I had to go in and get an ID card. Normal process. It's simple. Don't be mean. For whatever reason, the process has been, and I had an ID card lady that worked for me and I listened to her get yelled at all the time for this, not her fault. For whatever reason, your CAT card does not count as one of your 2 forms of ID card because you're handing that over, and when you surrender it, you no longer have it. That somebody made that decision. I don't understand it, but that's what it is. So I had to have driver's license and passport or social security card or something like that. Easy peasy. Got my retirement ID card. Got put on TRICARE. Interesting there though was as I was hanging up, ladies like, oh, by the way, you should log in on the 1st or 2nd and make sure your family got switched over to. So the 1st was a Sunday, the 2nd is a Monday. Obviously, there's budget shenanigans going on. So I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday before I logged in. And of course, I was on reserve or TRICARE retired, but my family had no coverage. So had to go through that again. The lady on the other end of the phone couldn't figure out why, but had to do the due diligence to make another phone call, log in, make sure everything was right. Also had to switch over dental. They told us in some brief we had that, hey, there's now options for dental. It's not just whatever the TRICARE dental is. You got options. So my wife is still a civilian on Fort Benning, so she asked around to all the other civilian spouses or spouses of retirees, and they all had the same plan, so we went with that. It's not the cheapest plan, but I have one kid in braces, one kid out of braces. My wife and I had Johnny healthy teeth, but it is what it is. So all in for dental and TRICARE and vision, because we had to get vision because my wife and kids wear glasses. It's going to be a little bit over $200 a month. So now you're having to pay for that. Is what it is, but that's a process you have to do right when you retire. I'm sure people with real jobs are like, whatever, that's normal. Yeah, I think figuring out how to pick the TRICARE was the hardest part. Probably the more important news, or the more happy news for me, is I got my VA claim last Thursday. I got my adjudication last Thursday. It was interesting. So I got an email. I was out running errands, doing all this dental stuff. I got an email saying, hey, your claim's been determined. So I came home, ran home, got online, and I couldn't see anything. It looked like my claim was still being worked. It actually had reverted from step 5 back to step 4. So I didn't understand what was going on. So I had to run back for an appointment, another appointment, and called the VA. And so what of that was, of my 44 ailments that I filed, they have me down for claims for. 15 of them have deferred adjudications. So they all say the same thing. Entitlement to a higher evaluation is deferred. And what the gentleman I spoke to at the VA said is the claim you have is the minimum. Like the evidence they have is you have that percentage. And then they're going to evaluate you and you might go up, but you shouldn't go down, if that makes sense. And this is normal practice. I've kind of watched some videos and stuff. It's normal. So I have 15 things I have to go back to the VA and get seen for. And people have said that your first 6 months or so out the VAs, you're going to be going to the VA all the time for appointments. So it is what it is. So VA process, I got the goal. They tell you not to talk about your rating. I got the goal. If you know, you know, kind of thing. I got rated for 35 total things. My highest individual rating is a 30, and then I had 13 things got 0 ratings, right? So, but still made the goal. And like I said, 9 of the claims are denied. There's only one of those that I think I might take an issue with, and that's the breathing thing. They have you breathe through this little thing that spins at the VA, and I was like 80's the cutoff, and I was at like 80.5. So it's like seriously, like I used to run marathons, and if I'm now at an 80.5, then my lungs aren't what they used to be. And yes, I'm in the burn pit registries and all that stuff. And yes, I served early on. We burned poo on 3 of my 5 deployments, and not to mention all the other shenanigans been around. So yeah, it is where it is there. That's the VA. So I think that was what I wanted to talk about was one. My VA thing. I did not use a VSO. I didn't do anything special. I did have. I mean, when you get to this point in your career, you've got a network, and you get people retiring. I'll tell you, the sergeant's major. If you haven't figured out, I'm an officer. The sergeant's major network. That network knows the deal. Right? So if you retiring around a sergeant major somewhere, and those guys and gals know what's going on, and they're great to talk to about CNP exams and all those things. But the advice is the advice you're going to get. There's a million YouTube videos about the VA and that stuff. One, I would say, to be honest, as I'm reading through here, the packet I was able to download last Thursday night. That was the other weird thing, was it was in a different spot on the VA website. Is 50 pages of your ailments, right? And what's interesting is for everything they rate you on, they say this is where we rated you. We didn't rate you higher because of this. We didn't rate you at 100, whatever the ratings can be for that ailment. It's not a smooth curve. Some of them are like 30, 50, 70, 100. Some of them are 10, 50, 100. It is what it is. You can get in the CFR if you're really nervous about all that. But like I said, I don't have anything higher than a 30, which I think is fair. I think I have a lot of little ankle biters over the years. And I think that's just part of being a 28-year infantryman and doing infantry things. So for me, I felt like the system worked. As I read through here, all these things are things I was seen for. A lot of them were later in the career, but they are what they are. What I did learn though is this packet is not what you need. What you then have to go do is you have to go get another thing here, and that's I purposely did that. That's your benefits letter, right? So that's the same letter you're going to download for everything now that you're out of the Army for if you need to get a home loan, if you need to, I live in Georgia, so we can get reduced property taxes, you can get reduced car taxes, tags, all those good things, depending on your ratings. So that's the piece of paper you need, not this 50-page thing. So this is on the to-do list this week, is to go down to the county courthouse and make the rounds with that piece of paper to do what I need to do. Yeah, so that's a positive. Oh, the other thing to talk about is pay. So when you get out, you don't get, people talk about it, but they don't talk about it. You don't get your last paycheck. Your last paycheck goes into this big audit system. And so today's the 10th, and I still haven't gotten my last paycheck. So my piece of paper from Fort Benning said if I didn't have it by today to call, so I will call this afternoon and see what's going on. It might have something to do with the government shutdown. It might have something to do with something else. But that's where we are. Got a job interview today. Got an exploration phone call, I think is what they're calling it, on Friday with another company here in town. And don't have my last paycheck yet. So things are fun. Things are not fun, but things are fun. So that's what's going on the retirement and the VA front. I will make more of these. These aren't a normal video for me. I'll make more of these as they become available. So yeah, have a good one, YouTube.